What's up, guys? Welcome back. So we got part 2 with Drew Tozer. This is based on his book, Feel Good Homes. A lot of education about heat pumps and stuff for homeowners to make the transition easier for the contractor and the homeowner to talk and get a job on the go. Now, if you haven't listened to part 1, I suggest you go back, listen to part 1, then you hit up part 2 so you get the whole story. Let's go, guys. This is the HVAC Know-It-All podcast. I'm your host, Gary McCreadie. This podcast is sponsored by Cool Air Products, Master, Cintas, and SupplyHouse.com. Go to the show notes and click on the links to check these guys out. Have you seen that? Have you come across that at all, where like someone's actually putting in the right size and they're getting the job because their quote's a bit lower because they're putting in the right size equipment?
I haven't, but that's mostly because I'm focused on retrofits and not on new construction so much. A lot of times in retrofits, that leads to confusion for the homeowners when they're getting 4 quotes and 3 of them are for a new 80,000 BTU furnace, and then you come in with a 2-ton heat pump and a 5-ton furnace. They're like, they assume that the 3 quotes are the right size, and then you are just wrong, like you did something wrong for it. And it's easier for them to do apples to apples with those 3 quotes. So I think it's tough there. Like the biggest advantage to heat pumps, right, cold climate heat pumps and where we are, is that they can be properly sized for the house, and that can significantly improve comfort. And that's true in new construction and in retrofits. And like Jim Bergman had a quote from earlier this year where he was saying one of the problems is that most people just haven't been in a truly comfortable home, right? Like we accept that homes are uncomfortable, especially old houses. We accept that they're air leaky. We accept that they're drafty. We accept that they're uncomfortable, and it kind of just is what it is. And we don't kind of push and hold our homes to a higher standard and kind of expect more from them. We just, that room's always cold, and if it's cold enough, then you just shut the door and you just like isolate it from the house for the winter. You just lose that space. We don't push for our homes to be more comfortable.
Well, most people aren't educated enough on that. And I'd say the average homeowner is not. They're starting to. I've had customers call me with all kinds of, they send me more data than I have, than I, you know what I mean? I've had some customers go, hey, I've researched this for the last 6 months and I think I want this and I want that. And it's amazing because of the research, the information that's out there that allows them to research. But most installers or technicians are not educated enough on this. So if they're not, how is the average homeowner going to get educated? And I've lost, and I don't care about this because I didn't want the job anyway, because I get frustrated when people call me and go, hey, yeah, can you put in a 5-ton heat pump for me? And I'm like, what do you mean? How do you know you need a 5-ton? Well, my buddy came over and he says I need a 5-ton. And I'm like, okay, let's start at the beginning here. And then I go on this rant and this spiel with these people, and they're like, whoa, like, what is this guy on? Like, I don't need any of this information, like click. But I don't care, because I don't want to work for that type of customer anyway. So, and I get super, not upset, just I get passionate about it because I've gone through all the steps and I know what's right and what's wrong. Right. And when people say, I need this and I need that in my home, I'm like, how do you know? And when they tell me their buddy who's an electrician or their cousin who's an HVAC guy said, oh, your house is 3,000 square feet, you need this, it drives me insane. Because I think one of the first heat pumps I did was in like the Oakville area. People that are listening, a lot of people won't know the Oakville area, but the house was like 3,000 square feet in around that range. And most people would throw in like an 80,000 or 100,000 BTU furnace in a home like that, just like rule of thumb, snap thinking. We only needed to put in a 60,000 BTU furnace in that house after doing a load calculation. And we put in a 2-stage with a heat pump as well. We put in a heat pump and nothing, no callbacks, nothing. So it's either the heat pump runs, which I believe was a 3-ton heat pump, and it was a 60,000 BTU furnace. And that was a couple of years back, and they haven't had any problems in the winter whatsoever. Right. So, I mean, the rule of thumb guy would probably throw in, like I said, an 80,000 or 100,000 BTU furnace, and they'd have all kinds of comfort issues in that home. So if anything from this podcast, people need to start getting away from the rules of thumbs and thinking that just because the house is a certain size envelope, we match it with a certain size piece of equipment just because that's what you've done in the past. But this is all changing now because of load calcs and a little bit deeper on the science side of things of HVAC and home comfort and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, and for that house, like, square footage is not a good metric to see how good or bad a house is. Like, how good or bad it will actually perform. Because you could have a 3,000 square foot new built, like, you could have a passive house that's 3,000 square feet and requires no heating and cooling, essentially. Or it could be an old farmhouse that's 3,000 square feet.
Yeah,
and it's going to be a
leaky as hell,
significantly different story, right? So square footage tells you really nothing about heating and cooling needs of the house. And so for homeowner education, like, that was really the reason that I wrote the book, was because I was having these conversations with homeowners, and I realized that it was the kind of the homeowner education journey was following a similar arc every time. It was the same questions, it was the same stories, the same objections, and a lot of homeowners dealing with the same problems. So I wrote the book as an easy first step for homeowners to understand this how to make these changes, and really understanding that homeowners don't care about building science and they don't care about HVAC. Like, they don't want this to be a new hobby where they read a textbook and learn everything about these topics. They just want to know enough to solve the problem in their house, right? And so that was the purpose of the book, was just give them enough information to kind of take easy next steps to solve these problems. And I think that the book is valuable for homeowners for that, but I think that the book can also be valuable for contractors, because it does the same thing on the building science side, where most contractors don't necessarily care about building science. They also don't have the time to become building science experts. But I think there's tremendous value in knowing like the basics, fundamentals of building science and how it relates, how HVAC fits into that system.
Okay. Do you tackle indoor air quality in the book by any chance?
Yeah, it is a big part of the book. And it said that in the summary as well. Like, yes, the comfort part is huge. The humidity part and the risks of mold is huge. But HVAC is also the best way, the most effective way to deal with indoor air quality, which is something that we have ignored for a very long time. And I think the early days of the pandemic really opened our eyes to the importance of the air that we breathe. Like, the average person spends 70% of their time indoors at home. And with more people working from home, that number is likely closer to 90% of their time is just in their house. And we care very deeply about the quality of the water that we drink, and we generally ignore the quality of the air that we breathe. And the best example of that is just thinking about traditionally how we treat filters on furnaces. We treat them as there to protect the equipment. Like, I hear that all the time from homeowners and contractors, that it's just there to protect the equipment, and it has no role in sort of improving the quality of air that we breathe. Like, I always say, for particles in the air, there's particulate pollutants, there's two options, right? You can either install a good enough filter somewhere in the house to catch those filters and remove them, or you can let your lungs act as the filters, right? And we frequently turn to that side of just letting our lungs filter out all the pollutants in the air. So yeah, I think there is a tremendous opportunity for HVAC to improve indoor air quality. And I also think that is a good selling point that contractors can push to kind of prove their value and be more premium contractors, is talking about indoor air quality and testing and showing those things. The other thing, I want to circle back to the house that you were talking about with the 8 or 10 ton, the 3,000 square foot house. I think there'd be value in you going back to that house and seeing whether that 3 ton heat pump was actually enough to carry that house. Like, what was the actual heat load now that we have the equipment installed? And I think every contractor at some point has a great homeowner that they do this type of work with and would be more than happy to chat about it a year later after the winter, whatever, and just go see how the equipment actually performed in the house. Because I think most people will be surprised that maybe it would, like, even with an aggressive 60,000 BTU load calc, it might be even lower than that. And we don't know that until we close that loop and go see how the equipment actually performed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, it really frustrates me too, like when you're coming back to the filter thing. It frustrates me when I hear contractors online saying, yes, the furnace filter is only there to protect the appliance. It drives me insane. That was the case back in the day when no one cared about indoor air quality. That was the case. But now look at the filtration systems we can get. And I really don't like it when someone says, yeah, I upsell them a 4 or 5 inch filter. You're not really upselling. Like, that should be your initial sale. It should be your standard. It should be your standard, a 4 or 5 inch filter, not upselling it. It should be, and it's not, I don't consider it an upsell. It should be a standard thing that goes in, because you and I know that depth of filter is going to protect the equipment, especially when it's the right cabinet and there's no, like, or I shouldn't say no air bypass, because everything's going to have a little bit of air bypass, but the air bypass is minimized. And I mean, like, cabinets like April Air and stuff have ways to minimize that bypass around the filter. You can look at a coil 5 years, 6 years, 7 years later, and a pan, and to the eyeball, they're clean. There's no accumulation of dirt or dust. I mean, things do get by a filter, right? I mean, it's not a HEPA filter that we're talking about here that's 99% efficient. So things do get by, but to the naked eye, you're looking at it, I'm like, wow, that's clean. The pan's clean. My drain has never clogged up in 5 years since I've had this filter. And the proof is in the pudding. It really, really is. And there's contractors out there that still just don't understand this concept of a very good filter and very good filter cabinet is going to keep your system clean. It's going to prolong the life of the equipment, because those 1 inch filters are death to the equipment, because people go out to the hardware store and they buy like a MERV 13 1 inch and slide it in, and then the static pressure goes up. You don't get enough airflow across the filter, and homeowners aren't educated on that either. So if the technicians and installers are okay with the 1 inch slot, and they're not telling the homeowners, hey, get this bigger filter, better filtration, better airflow, how are the homeowners going to know this? And how are they going to not know to go out and not buy the MERV 16 or 13 1 inch and slide it in there and be like, airflow is like, it's almost gone, guys. It's almost gone.
Yeah. And a big part of, like, so we do, that is our standard offering. We don't even we don't talk about 1 inch filters, 2 inch filters for homeowners. Anytime we do a retrofit in a house, it's a kind of an oversized return air drop that's as big as will fit in the space, and then a 4 inch filter there. And I think one of the ways we can improve that with homeowners is, once you have that sort of 4 inch filter cabinet, and that is the standard size that's in there, when the homeowner needs more filters, they're going to go and look at what the size is on it, right? It's going to say 24 by 24 by 4 inch, and they're going to go buy a 2 square foot or a 24 by 24 by 4. Like, they're going to go get that 4 inch filter because they don't know the different sizing. Like, they're going to get the same size. And at that point, if you make it work with a MERV 13, they're going to go and get one. They might get a MERV 13. They might get a MERV 11. They might get a MERV 8. Like, they might get a worse filter, but that's still not going to hurt the equipment. It's going to not help indoor air quality as much if they get a worse one, but you're still safe on the equipment side there.
Yeah. And so the other thing here's a business idea for contractors, because these companies exist. So if you're a contractor, you can make money on your customer going out and buying a filter. I mean, most contractors don't make money on that. They'll go to the hardware store and they'll buy filters. And if you're there doing a maintenance, perhaps you might grab one of theirs and slide it in for them. But there's programs out there, like especially online filter sales, that can set up promo codes or coupon codes. And if your company is Jim's Mechanical or something like that, well, Jim's Mechanical can get their own promo code with some of these online filter locations. The customer will save maybe a couple percent or something like that. I'm not sure how they all work, but then you also get a little bit of that money back. Like you might make a percentage off it as well. I've been like McCreadie HVAC, not HVAC Know-It-All, has been contacted by some of these people where, hey, like, do you want to make money on your homeowners ordering filters? And I looked at the program as basically every time they order a filter online, it gets delivered to their house. You get a small percentage of that. It's not huge, but like, let's say you take care of, I don't know, let's say you have 500 customers and they're all buying filters from this online store and you're making a couple bucks off each one. I mean, it adds up over time, right?
Yeah. And I think the other advantage to that, the other benefit from that is you are encouraging them, you're reminding them about the importance of getting new filters and replacing their filters. So it just increases the odds that they actually do it, right? That they actually replace their filter, which means like long term for you as a contractor, it's going to be less likely that they just ignore that filter for 4 years and it eventually does clog up and cause static pressure problems, right? Like you're pushing them in the right direction to actually maintain their equipment, which is something that no homeowner does. Like the only amount of maintenance that we can assume a homeowner does is zero. They just ignore everything until it breaks. So it's just another way to encourage them to do
I'm one of those homeowners.
Sure.
I'm one of those homeowners.
Yeah.
I mean, I do HVAC like for a living. So when it's like the shoemaker's kids don't have any shoes. I mean, sometimes I'll come up, I'll be like, the AC's not working very well today. And I'll go to the side of the house and the suction line's frozen. I'll pull my filter out and it's like clogged and like it's concave shape. And I got a 1-inch filter because the builder put it in. So I got to practice what I preach and I got to replace it. But I want to replace it's like 13 years old now. I want to hopefully in the fall, I want to do a heat pump. I'm probably going to do a dual fuel heat pump and furnace and put in a 4-inch filter, 5-inch filter, and put in a larger return drop like you just mentioned. Because, hey, like the larger the better. I mean, you can always put a damper in and play with it too if it's too big or whatever. Like,
well, and I think that you likely can't put in a return air drop that's too big, right? Like I can't imagine what would happen if you just made the return air drop too big for that space. Like it's still going to connect to the rest of the return air ducts, and that's going to be the limiting factor. You're just eliminating one of the choke points for the system. And the other maintenance part to this is that is another advantage that going fully electric has over hybrids or just furnaces in general it is important for furnaces to do annual maintenance on furnaces, right? Because the downside risk is gas leaks, carbon monoxide poisoning, all of that nasty stuff that is always in the news every year for some tragic thing that happens. For a heat pump, there's no heat exchanger, right? Or there's no gas heat exchanger, there's no combustion. And so there isn't that annual safety check to do on a heat pump. And since homeowners aren't going to do annual maintenance or any maintenance anyway, I always try to pick solutions for homeowners that kind of lean into that and don't ask homeowners to do more maintenance that they're not going to do. It's the same reason why it's nice to not have a gas furnace and an AC and a whole home dehumidifier and a HEPA filter and like all of this equipment that they're not going to maintain. It's like, let's just try to minimize that, simplify that whole system so that the maintenance that they have is basically change the filter and make sure that the outdoor unit isn't like covered in sticks and leaves and debris.
Cool. All right. Well, I mean, we've had you for a good 45 minutes or so. But anything else that's in the book you feel is important? The book is called Feel Good Homes by Drew Tozer. And I mean, it's not a big, thick book. It's probably a very quick read for those fast readers. Is there I'll ask, because I don't know the answer. Is there like an audible version of that people can listen to?
Currently, no. Maybe one day. But yeah, I purposefully made it a short, easy read, accessible read. I think it's probably 2 or 3 hours. I'm a slow reader and it's probably in there.
I'm a slow reader too.
Yeah, I read every single word, and I did that purposefully, right? Because it's already tough to get homeowners to listen to any of this stuff, and so I just knew that if it was a long, complicated textbook on building science and heat pumps, they're not going to read that. So it is conversational. It's not jargon. It doesn't mention the refrigerant cycle in there because homeowners don't care about that. And so it is meant to be short and quick and easy and just kind of an easy first step for homeowners or contractors to learn about this. And yeah, it is available for free on our website, foundryheatpumps.ca. And that's either, if you're in Ontario, I mail free hard copies of it. And if you're anywhere else, I just give free PDFs of it because I'm just trying to get this good information about heat pumps and building science out into the industry.
Will you send the PDFs to the techs and that in the US?
Sure. Yeah. And I have, like, there are questions. So when you go onto the website, there's a button to click. There's a little form to fill out. And when you say that you're in the States, it'll give you the PDF to download.
Nice. And one last question before we go. I'll see if you agree. The best system out there is the best installed system. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that getting premium equipment, even the best equipment installed poorly, is going to perform poorly and fail early.
Yep. And there's a lot of people out there that will call something a piece of online, but I guarantee you, and I could go on this rant for days. Like, I've literally seen people call something a piece of, right? People local to me, and I've gone out on job sites with a couple of these people, and you open up the back of their van and it looks like it hadn't been cleaned in 3 years, and they're rifling through and they grab the tool out, and I'm like, no wonder you don't treat your tools. Like, so how are your installs? So yeah. It's nice to know that some technicians know that the best installed piece of equipment is going to run the best, regardless of brand, or the best system out there that's the highest price or versus the lowest price. It always comes back to, is it the right wiring size for your electrical, right? Is it the ductwork? Is it correct? Is it sized correctly, the equipment for the home? Proper evacuation. If you're going to braze it, please nitrogen braze. We don't need like the cupric oxide inside the system. All these things matter, and it's all going to affect the system through time. And if you don't want a dead system in 7 to 8 years, then let's do things right and look at the right way to do it, and then execute the right way. And then you should be fine. You should have a 15-year system, no problem at that point.
Yeah, and that's also how I got where I am now. I am not an HVAC tech. I have no hands-on skills with HVAC, but I was very fortunate to cross paths with an incredibly skilled HVAC installer named Travis Richardson in my area. So the way that Foundry Heat Pumps works is that I'm the front end of Foundry Heat Pumps. I do all the homeowner education, the marketing, all of the outreach, partnerships, all of that. And then I just let Travis focus on doing that high quality, great work. And he can just focus on sort of delivering on that. And I think that part of the conversation is also about the whole race to the bottom that homeowners and contractors deal with and feed into. And I just think that there's always a cheaper contractor, right? Like, I think it's always a slippery slope to be in and have those conversations with homeowners and try to be the cheapest and try to sell on price. For us, anytime we run into homeowners like that, I'd rather lose the job than try to cut corners somewhere in the process just to win it and do a bad job, especially for something like heat pumps where the install quality matters, I'd argue, more than a gas furnace, more than furnaces. There's more things that can go wrong, especially in that 7 to 8 year time span when you do a crappy job on the install. But for contractors that do that, it's like they're already 7 years gone by the time that something fails in the house. The homeowner, it's like they just pick the cheapest contractor anyway. So I push contractors try to focus on just doing that great work and find the homeowners that want that quality of work.
Good way to end it, Drew. So thank you very much, man. Hopefully everybody listening to this gets a hold of you and they get a copy of your book and they can send it to their customers and we can start educating the masses on this stuff. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.